Oh, yes. Something very strange is going on. Something strange is happening, y'all, out here in these internet streets and in the world behind Jussie Smollett. What's happening, y'all? This is Henny for your thoughts. Come on in, come on in. We got to talk about it because you may have noticed some people are still trying to come out their face and saying Jussie Smollett is innocent. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But look, we got to talk about it here. In this case, I saw a thread on Facebook involving this guy here, Cleo Manago. I saw a Facebook post. I don't know. It's this guy Cleo Manago was basically trying to say that there still are some questions as to Jussie Smollett's innocence or guilt. And another man came on the thread and he basically broke it all down, basically, right? That basically all Jussie has to do is say, hey, I made it up. I lied. Let's get it on. Let's go. But you're going to find there are going to be people that are out here in the media that seem to be positioned and ready to try to paint this Jussie Smollett as a victim of racial injustice. When the original sin, the original lie, he lied and said he was a victim of racial attack in the street. Now he's lying that he's being a victim of racial attack in court and maybe by the police of Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, one thing we can remember, okay, which is very, very unfortunate. One thing we got to remember from the past, though, if you remember Rosa Parks, all right, since we're dealing with Black history, you've got Taraji Henson for some reason talking about EMMITT TILL and comparing that case in some way to Jussie Smollett's court case. So if you want to go there, you all want to go there and bring history into it, let's do that. Let's take the Rosa Parks case. We all have to admit that there was other people, and especially one young woman, who had already done the same thing that Rosa Parks did. But what happened? We learned that there was some level of politics behind making sure or choosing Rosa Parks as the face of the let me get up out my seat, or, there's a reason why she was chosen. And the other story, the younger young lady who also refused to give up her seat before Rosa Parks, her story wasn't made prominent. And neither were the other ones. So the question became, why was Rosa Parks, why did they choose that one to be the face of that case? And unfortunately, we may see politicians and people so heavily involved in trying to manipulate the law that they would create some sort of situation where they would present it to the court and things might change. So, for example, and then these people end up being, heroes, right? No doubt. I mean, but look, Mr. Cleo Manago, one thing that's interesting about this guy is that, check this out, back in 2019, you see this? Back in 2019, this is 2022 we're in now, but Cleo Manago back in 2019 was involved in this type of discussion: hate crimes and the Jussie Smollett incident. And this is where he's speaking about it. And it says here, look at this. It says the family of Empire star Jussie Smollett, January 31st, 2019, WHUR 96.3, Howard University Radio, January 2019. The family of Empire star Jussie Smollett is speaking out about the attack against him this week. In a statement, his family called it a racist and homophobic hate crime and likened it to an act of domestic terrorism. Smollett was beaten by two people in Chicago who yelled racist and homophobic slurs at him. We examine the impact of this incident and the intersection of race, sexual orientation, and hate crimes in America. So, one thing that I'm wondering about this Jussie Smollett case is that he seemed to have people in high places. He seemed to put himself out there in very weird, strange ways just to be seen as the face of this new cause of the day, hate crime legislation, I guess. He was going to be the face of that, in a sense, the way that Rosa Parks was the face of I'm not going to give up my seat. So you have these different groups and people that may be interested in moving society a certain way. So they set up maybe a certain individual to be the face of their movement in certain ways. And you may seen people like Kevin Hart being asked at one point to be the face of, I think it was black male homosexuality or something. And Kevin Hart was like, hell no, hell no. I don't want to necessarily, be the face of that. So you have to be mindful, in other words, that there are people in media who appear in interviews, for example, on Roland Martin's show, like Cleo Manago. There are people in certain positions who play the role of certain kind of like tools, in a sense. I call them maybe victim-minded tools, in a sense, that are always going to sort of be making sure we look at the possibility that someone may be a victim in a situation. So Cleo Manago was going on Facebook about how you either have two choices. You either believe Jussie Smollett or you believe the racist Chicago police. Which one is it going to be? And this is after the court and the judge done made his sentencing, put him in jail, and people are going to be arguing whether or not he should be in jail or not, whether or not he should have been found guilty or not. But it's important to know that he's in jail not only because of lying about a hate crime or two, saying that he was attacked homophobically, saying he was attacked racially. That's two hate crimes in one event. He's not in jail just for whatever you may think about that fourth degree felony or whatever it's being called. He's also being jailed because he perjured himself. He sat there and lied throughout the entire court procedure. And you actually look it up, you can go to jail just for lying in court, ladies and gentlemen. I believe it's anywhere from a year to 7 years in jail for lying alone, if it's shown in court and by a jury of your peers that you lied in court. If the judge noticed it, whatever, you could be sentenced to prison just for lying in court alone. So let's not get so caught up in him being in jail just for faking a hate crime, which has its own terroristic, evil, narcissistic side to it. But you also see the support. You also see maybe a different class of people supporting Jussie Smollett. And these people are stars. We call them the Black Elite. Some people might call them some sort of a boule group of people, or carbon, whatever you want to call it, boule people or whatever. They show up on your media, they show up on television, they're all on Facebook, they post, they maybe the Sean King types. And now we have Taraji P. Henson, who has her own idea of how we should view Jussie Smollett's case. She says that he shouldn't be in jail. She's not trying to debate y'all on the case, whatever. She's saying the brother should not be in jail. And I understand that. I get it. But she also said the case was something like Emmett Till. And you wonder, is she reading from a script? You wonder, was she supposed to be saying that, right? So you've got this Cleo Manago guy on Facebook trying to have Jussie's back, trying to support Jussie Smollett, maybe because he's same gender loving, I don't know. Claiming that the Osundairo brothers are liars or aren't trustworthy compared to Jussie, I guess. But you may have a certain core of people who may have, unbeknownst to them or that, they may have been part of this whole thing. Because look, Jussie Smollett was even connected to the prosecutor, the original prosecutor. She dropped the charges for Jussie. Knowing people in high places is something that Black folks are usually not a party to. So this is a class issue. These are people who are known as the elite, these the Hollywood people who usually are being out here to promote some sort of agenda or some sort of whatever they want to promote. So stop trying to act like Jussie Smollett is some sort of victim, please. It's all an act. None of you has any evidence that this dude was some sort of a victim. The cops, if anything, turned their heads away from real crime just to deal with the Jussie Smollett case. That's privilege. Maybe that's his half Jewish side coming out. I don't know, but he was treated with kid gloves. This weird case that never had any bite into it. The cops went hard because he's famous, he's got connections. Kim Fox connected to the Obamas, they got connections with Don Lemon, they got connections with Hollywood directly with directors, and he's a star. He's got Taraji Henson and other people trying to paint him out to be an Emmett Till of 2022. But he staged a hate crime. You're not going to get away with continuing to paint him as a victim of anything racist right now. So beware, ladies and gentlemen. There may be members of a brigade, I don't know, and their agenda may be in some sort of fake woke, fake desire to be loyal to a fault, blind loyalty just based on right tribe or community. The LGBT may be behind Jussie Smollett, but then again, maybe many of them in the LGBT are not behind Jussie Smollett. Why? Because Jussie Smollett abused their trust by lying and making up this whole bull crap story. He played on your emotions, this Jussie Smollett guy. Played on every single community in a nuanced way. He played with everybody's emotions. He played with the emotions of the LGBT. He played with the emotions of people who hate or are afraid of MAGA hats. He played with the emotion of people who are attacked for being gay. He knew you wouldn't question him on it. That's sort of terroristic, but we cannot paint Jussie as any kind of victim. No, no, no. He's not Emmett Till, Taraji. He's not Emmett Till. This brother's not a victim of anybody's criminal injustice. He lied his tail off on the stand. His co-defendants not only ratted on them, but they said he is the one who did the crime himself. Their character was deemed as being more credible and trustworthy than Jussie on the stand. And then the way he ended it, icing on the cake, storming out of the jail. He's lucky they didn't handcuff him right there in court with the cameras on him. He's lucky they didn't do that. But you're not going to catch me riding no Jussie wave. You're not going to catch me marching for Jussie. You're not even going to catch me doing any kind of hashtag free Jussie, free juicy fruit, whatever. None of that I'm going to take part of at all. This has nothing really to do with a racial thing because he made up the whole story. He made up the races involved in the story of both the attackers and the attacked, and his own boys ratted on him and told on him in the end. And we trust the Osundairo brothers. But ladies and gentlemen, check this shit out. I'm getting tired of this shit. I think he wanted to be handcuffed and dragged out of court. Yeah, he probably would have been attracted to it. You know what I mean? He said something weird. He said, if I did this, then that means I shove my fist up the fears of Black Americans for the past 400 years, which is a strange way to put that in words, shove your fist somewhere. But yeah, he's Mr. He's I don't know what he is now, but he's a fraud in my eyes. A felon and a fraud for life. That's pretty sad. And he's hopefully protective custody, I believe. But please, somebody's got to tell me, why do you think people are trying to compare him to Emmett Till? Why even bring up Emmett Till's name? What is Taraji Henson thinking? Why would she say that? This case was something like Emmett Till. Are you kidding me, woman? We understand and we can tell by the pictures. He's like a little brother to you, maybe. He's such a good kid, maybe. Nice guy. He's all about love and charity, and he makes you feel good as a human being. You work together on the show, and we understand your support. Nobody's going to say you can't support. Nobody's saying blind loyalty is bad. What we're saying is, why compare it to Emmett Till? What's your agenda? And like I said, back in the day, there was someone who refused to give up her seat before Rosa Parks. And they could have brought that young lady to the Supreme Court. But you know what? She was not the best type of. She was a young Black sister who was actually pregnant out of wedlock. So they did not want to use her to be the face of the case, where Rosa Parks ended up being the face of that case. So here we have this guy who's well connected in politics. Remember, after Jussie lied and did his event a few years ago, it was Kamala Harris, your vice president, and it was Cory Booker who came out and said, oh, we've got to get this hate crime legislation going. Kamala Harris was like, this Jussie Smollett was a victim of a modern day lynching. And it just so happened that in Congress, they were going over a lynching bill. So was he supposed to be the face of the lynching and hate crime bill, whatever that is? And how many people were going to be involved in pushing this narrative? There's so much sneaky stuff going on. You have no reason to trust any of it. All the evidence was overwhelming against Jussie Smollett. He couldn't convince a court. He's a horrible actor in court. He's not suicidal, but he claims he didn't do it. And unfortunately, he's already been proven guilty. And we'll see what happens on appeal. But stop trying to make Jussie out to be somebody's victim of racial injustice. That's just not the case here. The cops don't even seem to have treated him unfairly in this case. They listened to his nonsense story. They listened to his nonsense story. There was nothing that Chicago Police Department did to Jussie that was racist. They asked for his phone records. He refused to give his phone records. Was that part racist? So why are they trying to make this elite, half Jewish, light-skinned black man, Jussie Smollett, who was also trying to claim to be some political activist, making tweets against Donald Trump? Why are they trying to make him out to be some victim? Why are they trying to insult your intelligence? Why do we need to be the victim so desperately? How desperate do you have to be a victim that you would set up a hoax, a hate crime hoax? And his main man, Lee Daniels, was his father. Remember when Lee Daniels came out? Lee Daniels was right there on the scene supporting all the nonsense. Lee Daniels was like, Jussie, look at me, Jussie. Jussie, look at me, Jussie. I am your father, Jussie. I am basically your father. What happened to you was wrong. So wrong, Jussie. What happened to you was wrong. We will talk later, okay? This should not have happened to someone as good as you. So, was he trying to be some sort of sacrificial lamb to fake a hoax? And now he's a victim. The Nigerian brothers were not supposed to turn their back on him. The Nigerian brothers who he paid by check, he left all types of different evidences and tracks and trails of a fool, a felonious fool, but he did not expect the Nigerian brothers to turn around and change their story. These Nigerian brothers seem to be stand-up gentlemen in these days. There's no evidence that these Osundairo brothers were drugged or were coerced by police to turn their back on Jussie. But hey, he had assistants in very high places. This is another reason why this is so suspicious and fishy. He had people in very high places. I'm talking about Kim Fox, another one of the black prosecutors of the nation, of the state of that area of Cook County. Her connection possibly to someone else, maybe even Michelle Obama. I remember hearing people were calling to figure out what happened to Jussie, their darling Hollywood up and coming possible gay star. He wanted to be the gay Tupac so badly. And again, calling yourself gay Tupac is putting yourself up front, at the forefront, being some sort of leader or some sort of character in this sort of thing, fighting for the gay fight, hate crimes, and being that sort of victimized. This is weird. This is like the glorifying of a victim status. And Jussie ends up sabotaging his own hoax, being the victim of his own hoax. And nothing worked out the way he had planned. And they still want to push him as the victim like EMMITT Till. They still want to paint him like a victim, like he's Emmett Till, or like his case was in any way similar to Emmett Till's case. But why? Why are they trying to elevate this fraud of a Jussie Smollett? Terribly written plot. Terribly written plot. I give him a thumbs down. We refuse to elevate Juicy to any sort of martyr. When he comes out, he needs to stay his ass home. We do not support anything that he does. We fully support the judge's decision. We do think he was given a slap on the wrist. We are okay with him being in jail. We believe that there are people who are in jail that did nothing at all, and they should be free. They should be cleared before Jussie. You got people in jail that do all type of stuff, but he's lucky he's only got 5 months. He's going to be gone for the summer. Uh, and he'll be back at the end of the summer, maybe. But at anyway, why are these different groups of black people in media, right? Maybe Roland Martin is another one. You'll notice there's a whole cadre, there's a whole crew of them. Roland Martin, Cleo Manago, Taraji, and a gang of other ones seem to be interested. They seem to be invested in painting Juicy as Emmett Till, as some justice warrior, as if, you know, he's being mistreated because he's black. And that's just not the case. This is one case where the Chicago Police Department went out their way and they treated him with privilege that he walks with. And I don't know what his family's talking about. I don't know how they go about doing what they do. They all probably would be on that movie Get Out along with all the other white folks. The Juicy Smollett family would be right there on that movie Get Out with all the white folks. They would not be trying to get away. It's very odd indeed. Very strange case, y'all, but I refuse to see Juicy Smollett and some victim. The evidence was overwhelming. The dude is guilty. He's in protective custody. He's in jail, but he has to pay for toying with people's minds in so many different nuanced levels. He was toying with so many different people's minds, all while trying to be the gay Tupac, and all while trying to connect his struggle to some political movement where he was supposed to be the face of gay pride in the face of a hate crime. And there was supposed to be a political movement to pass this gay rights legislation, and he was going to be the face. And it failed and it backfired. And now he wants respect. Why? When you lied. And he wants this is crazy, y'all. But this is your boy Marwan. Just wanted to bring that to you right here as my other channel rests and relaxes for speaking too much truth about COVID. I was given a nice 1 week sentence of no going live, no posting on that channel. But here, we're all good. And I want to thank y'all for stopping through. Again, Juicy Smollett is not my hero. He's not my social justice, black power uh, hero. He's none of that. He's nothing close to Emmett Till. His case was nothing at all like Emmett Till. He did not experience racial injustice. He's not going to be, hopefully, he's not going to be running for anybody's political office because he's a fraud for life. He's a felony, but he's always going to be known as a fraud. And you're just not going to be getting any public love after that. This is your boy Marwan. And just Henny for your thoughts. Henny for your thoughts. Thank you for rolling true. Peace out, y'all. One love.